Kia ora and welcome to another episode of The Leadership Lounge. I'm Katie, I'm your host, and it's great that you've joined me back here. This is now episode number 57. I know we're kind of into 4 seasons, but that's really kind of like a when I need to take a break season. That's how that happens. But yeah, episode 57. Fabulous. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. The Leadership Lounge is a space for healthcare leaders to just take a moment, that moment of pause, deep breath, and get that fresh perspective on the work that you're doing. Because it's so easy in the everyday pressures and demands to just keep flying at things the way that we've always flown at things. And I'm on a bit of a mission to change the way it feels to work in healthcare, because it can be and should be uplifting, joyful. Yes, it's always going to be challenging and demanding, but actually we can get that balance right. And in order to do that, we need to think about things from different perspectives. So there we are. Like I said, I'm Katie. I'm your host. Great to have you with you, to have you with me here. Yes, you can tell, really good at this stuff, and I really am just chatting away to you, because you matter and the work that you do matters. Now, this week, I'm getting to a topic that I have skimmed around and have added to that magical list that I keep talking about. And that's talking about a book called The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Now, I have mentioned it in a number of occasions, and actually there's been some episodes, and I will put the link to these episodes, where we've actually dived into a particular habit in more detail. But what I haven't done is given that kind of overview of the book from that higher level perspective. And actually, more importantly, why I think it's worth your time. So I first came across the book when I was a brand new charge nurse, and it was all feeling a little bit like, oh, am I supposed to do that? Oh, am I supposed to do that? Where does that fit? What am I supposed to do with there? Oh, look, here's this. And I also had a whole list of stuff I wanted to do. And then I'm giving you this whole list of stuff I had to do and trying to understand all of that. And so I was feeling a little bit overwhelmed, excited, but overwhelmed. So that really kind of like, I want to do all of this. How am I going to make sense of it? And I happened to pick up the book in a secondhand bookshop that I am known to be prowling from time to time. And I knew it to be one of those classics. I had never read it. And I thought, okay, maybe this is now the time. Maybe this is what I need. You know, it kind of like 7 habits. That seems achievable. That's 7 things I need to do, right? And highly effective. That's what I want to be in this setting. I want to be effective. I've got a lot to do, a lot I want to do, a lot that people are counting on me to do. So yeah, I need to be highly effective. Okay, this makes sense. And I remember reading it and taking my time and really and realizing as soon as I got into it that this was a book of action. This was a book that was going to require me to think about things differently, make some tweaks to how I looked at things, but also how I organize things. But mainly, it definitely started with this space of understanding myself in the context that I was in, before I can move on to creating the change and having that influence and impact I wanted to do. And that's really the basic kind of setup. The first couple of habits are they called this private, I think it's private victory. I really should have the notes, shouldn't I? Really should have the notes, not wing it. Like I do have some notes, like I have a list, I have things, I have prompts. And then once you've done this private victory, you understand that, then you move into that public sphere where you can influence and have that impact. And I remember the thing that really stands out and that is a strong memory is that it helped me kind of classify the different things that I was doing as a charge nurse. It helped me make a bit more sense of it. And so rather than feeling like I had a gazillion things I should be doing at any one time, it helped me go, okay, these are the core components of the work that I'm doing. These are my key responsibilities. And so it could easily be, if you think like, oh, all of a sudden you've got to read the Falls report and understand what that is and make sure everyone's doing that. But also you've got to answer this patient complaint. Oh, and please could you do the roster? And could you make sure that there's enough patients coming in and out and that all the equipment's there? Oh, we need this order doing. Oh, my leave needs to be approved. And so it can just feel like that every day, right? Oh, and of course, don't forget you need to stay clinical and check in with all of your patients and all of that jazz. So it's actually quite hard to kind of like think that through. And so what I got from reading this book was actually go, okay, I'm just going to stop, pause. I'm going to write down all this stuff. And then it could start to form into themes, buckets, I don't know, higher level topics, whatever word you want to go for. So I have, okay, there's all this stuff that's around quality and patient safety. Okay, that's a really important bucket. Then I've got this operational management. That's making sure that patients are coming in, patients are going out, and that I'm making sure that all the systems are up to date and that we've got the equipment that we need to actually do what's expected of us as a ward. And then I've got this whole thing about making sure the roster's done, making sure that people are having their appraisals and that I'm managing leave correctly. So this whole stuff of people management. And then there was the bucket of all the clinical elements that was part of my job. And also then there's this other space of the change and the transformation that I wanted to try and bring about, the improvement areas. And once I'd kind of settled them down into those areas, it kind of felt like a bit more manageable. So I can't remember exactly the sort of which habit it was that did that, but that was the sort of output that I went from this chaotic space to feeling quite, okay, yeah, these are the different areas that I need to handle and which ones do I need to lean into at different times. So that's what I got from the book. And I think my context right now, which is this state of, I don't know, where are we at when I'm recording this? I think we are, I do know exactly because it's written on the board, 35 days from moving and leaving New Zealand and moving back to the UK. And there is definitely a sense of overwhelm and all the things that need to be done and all the things I want to do and all the things I have to do. Very similar feeling. And so it's really pertinent and important that I come back to what I have learned about these 7 habits. And I've got a really cool story that I will save for next episode. There you go. There's a little teaser trailer. I'm going to save a really cool story for next episode when we'll dive into one I think is one of the most challenging habits for people who need healthcare. Okay. 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, written by Stephen Covey. Yes, written quite some time ago. But what's cool is if you go to the website, and of course I'm going to pop the links into the show notes, the Franklin Covey site, it's really, they've maintained it in terms of updating it and being really relevant for the context of work right now. There's also some amazingly cool resources and you can download a really cool summary. So if reading a big book is not really on your thing, you can download a really, really good, easy to read and really quite useful PDF summary. There's also some other cool things that you can do. And this might be cutting a bit fine depending on when you're listening to it, but this week's I Am No Jedi email is also about the 7 habits and some different components of it. But there's also some links to some other really cool things that the Franklin Covey site do. So if you want to sign up for that, katiequinney.com/subscribe, and you will be in and get the No Jedi email that comes out on a Wednesday morning. So you're going to have to be quick. All right then. So the 7 habits then, let me just run through them. Oh my God, you can feel the excitement in my voice. I need to calm down. I need to take that breath. It's really interesting actually, your voice and your speed. If you can learn to notice the speed of which you're talking, I think that's a really good clue to where you're at in terms of things, and we can suddenly speed up or gradually speed up. That's even worse. So I just noticed how fast I was speaking. So I'll take that breath. The magic of breathing, and give you a high-level summary of the 7 habits. And as I go through these, you'll see the influence, you'll hear the influence that they've had on me in terms of the topics that I've been sharing. If you read my work, read the blog, get the email, I've been listening to other podcasts. So the first one, habit 1, is be proactive. And this is all about this circle of control and circle of influence. And I work with a lot of people who feel that they are always being reactive. We're having to just jump from one thing to another. And this is about how do we move into that space of being proactive. And talks a lot about that great quote from Viktor Frankl around between stimulus and response lies a space. And in that space is the freedom to choose, and that's where our power is. So it's this idea of creating this space and that we can be proactive. Habit number 2, Begin with the end in mind. Oh, now what I like about this one is this is about thinking about what we're actually trying to achieve. Now, what I like about this one is that you can think about it from a day, a week, a month, a year. And I've just done this. I've kind of like, okay, what do I need to achieve by the end of today? And when we begin with the end in mind, we're just reframing how we're doing things, really. But this one is also a lot about being really clear of what your definition of success is. Because we can all have different definitions of what success is. So my end is not going to be the same as your end in terms of stuff. So this is also around being very owning what that is. So that's habit number 2, begin with the end in mind. Habit number 3, put the first things first. Now this is the habit that I think is one of the most challenging in the healthcare setting, because this is where you're asking to prioritize things. And he uses a 4x4 quadrant model, and he talks about things that are urgent, things that are not urgent, things that are important, and things that are not important. And what I think is really challenging in his healthcare is that there are things that really sit on this line that are urgent and important, which they would class as sort of the crisis stuff, which is not where you're supposed to be spending all your time. But there's also this stuff that's also highly important that has to still be done. So it's this effectiveness is where that sits. So this is why he's trying to focus on the stuff that is not urgent. But I think too many things come into it all has to be done now. It all has to be done now. So learning to move into things that are not urgent is actually some of the hardest stuff that is healthcare, but it's where we get our effectiveness from. I don't think I've explained that, but funnily enough, this is the one that I'm going to go into in a bit more depth in next week's episode. I already have it planned. Look at me, planning. Maybe being effective. Who knew? Okay, so that's habit 3, which is put first things first. And lots in that one. Habit 4 is called think win-win. Now, this is this idea of how we are interdependent on each other. And so I'm often talking about this, how we connect and work with each other, how we're cooperating with other people. But also in here, this is a space of abundance. So in order to have that win-win mentality, you need to have a level of integrity, a level of maturity, and you also have to have this abundance mentality. And that sits very closely with this space of gratitude, which, again, one of my core habits, I suppose, that I believe leaders need to be leaning into. So that's think win-win. That's number 4. Habit 5, lovely one, this one. Seek first to understand, then to be understood. So this is all about empathic communication. And if you're thinking about any kind of conversation, whether it be I'm not even going to call it what we often call it. I'm going to say, if you need to have any conversation, this is one of those core habits. Seek first to understand, then to be understood. So there's an awful lot in here. And if we think about some of our biggest challenges or issues or where things have gone wrong, it is often down to communication. And so if we're approaching it with that habit, then things might work out a little bit differently. Habit 6. Habit 6 is synergize. And this is all about the creative cooperation. And it's when we pull all of those other habits together, then this incredible thing starts happening. And it's that blend that none of these habits sit in little boxes and go, here's that habit, tick, done. I can now move on to the next habit. These are, you're building on each other and they are interacting and you're moving backwards and forwards. This isn't a task list. This isn't a 30-day challenge. This is something that you embed and evolve over time, and it ebbs and flows, much like life. When I remember being a charge nurse, we were working on the Releasing Time to Care program, the productive ward program, and it was cool because it was a really nice program of areas that we were going to focus on and build on. And it was kind of like, okay, here we got this one, and we probably got about 3 or 4 in, and it started to synergize. we started to learn things about improvement methodology. So we were bringing that into our daily conversations, but we were starting to see what happens when you start to build on one thing and then the other. So this synergize, you've got to be in it for the long game, I think. From a synergized perspective, you can't expect this to go, right, we're going to put out this program now and then we're going to have this by then. You've got to allow that space and time for it to evolve. Habit 7 is called Sharpen the Saw. And there has been an episode on this, because this is the one that allows all of those other ones. This is the idea that we're not just done. It's not just a tick and done. This is about how we remain conscious and aware of where we're doing and how we're at. The thing like the noticing that my voice got really kind of like very, very fast. It tells me like you just got a lot on your plate right now, girl. Take a breath. So habit 7, sharpen the saw. They're the 7 habits. Lots in there that is highly relevant to the way that you work as a leader in healthcare. So often these business books are written from a perspective of corporations or businesses and making profit and all of that kind of stuff. And the magic comes from when we kind of go, okay, let's take that and let's reimagine that in the healthcare setting. What does that mean for me as a healthcare leader? And that's really what I do in the weekly podcast, sharing those ideas, relating them to the stories of either my own personal stories or stories of people that I get to work with because I just have such a cool job, or those ones that I'm listening to, or that other people have come and shared with me, because people are telling me things all the time about different stuff. So the 7 Habits is one of those. Older book, classic book, definitely still relevant, and an awful lot of resources on the website that you'll be able to find out more about them. One of the things that you'll find on that website is a quiz. Love a good quiz. And it invites you to answer the questions as a quiz would do. And it helps you pull out what is your natural superpower from those 7 habits. What is the habit that you're already doing really, really well? Because one of those things about habits, particularly when there's this component of synergy, yes, we can't ignore any of them. We've got to do the work of them. And you have to understand the self component first before you can start influencing other people. But there's going to be something there that you're really, really good at. And so I would love to hear what that is. So there's all the different ways that you can get a hold of me. That'll be great to hear from you. I'd love to hear what your super strength is from the 7 habits. All right. I hope you've enjoyed the overview of the 7 habits of highly effective people. I hope you can see that there's something that might just get you a little bit teaser trailer about and go and have a look at in a bit more depth. I'll pop all the links into the show notes. And as I said, next week we will have an episode that looks particularly at that one around putting first things first, which can be a real challenge in the healthcare setting. All right, you take care. Have an amazing week. You're doing a great job. Keep showing up. And thank you so much for everything you're doing. I know there's a lot of stuff. I use the word stuff quite a lot. There's a lot of stuff going on. So thank you for showing up, doing your best every day. You take care. And I'll be back next week for another episode of the Leadership Lounge.